Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and a happy Sunday to you. I hope you've all had a great week this week. If you're new here, my name is Brittany Lewis. I am a professional artist, graphic designer, and illustrator, the whole nine. I'm also a tarot deck enthusiast, and Sundays is the day that I set aside time to work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And today is no exception to that. We're going to pick up right where we left off last week. But before you do, I would like to kindly ask you for a favor. If you'd like to see more live streams like this, if you find something valuable from this live stream, if you just like me, please hit the thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that you value this content and it helps me to get these videos out to people who will also enjoy them. So, other ways that you can support me before we get into our painting is you can, if you're feeling a little generous, you can go to my shop. There are ways to support that stream here. You can go to my website, blewisarts.com. All of that will be linked in the description. So, before we waste too much time doing too much talking, let's get into it. So, the last couple of weeks we've been working on the Two of Swords from the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And we're just gonna pick up. This past week I've been on vacation, so I have not looked at these pictures or this picture all week. So I'm looking at it fresh. Aside from setting it up, this is my first time looking at this. So we're just gonna get off into it. We two of swords. Well, first of all, let's get into the Cosmic Gateways Tarot because I know we have some new faces here. So the Cosmic Gateways Tarot is my dream project that I started in 2019. It was something that I had wanted to do for many years. The reason being is because at 16 I had gotten into tarot, but I wasn't seeing myself represented, and so just as soon as I picked it up, I put it back down. Once I got back into the medium of tarot, I still was not able to find something that I could connect to. And from my perspective, I think it's super important to have tools that you work with that you can see yourself in. So it became a bit of a mission of mine to make my own deck. So that's what we've been doing. And it's been 5 years. I've been working on it off and on. There are 78 cards. There will be a guidebook included as well as a companion book that'll go along with it. My goal is to have this project done by next year. Hey, Marie. That's Brooke. Hey, girl. Hey, y'all. Hey, everyone. I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad you guys are here. But this will be a 78 card deck, books included, the whole nine. I've been working on this project for 5 years now, off and on. In June of this year, I decided to actually just set aside time, take time to work on this dream project. So here we are. Now, tarot, for those of you who do not know, is a medium, just a card deck, just like your regular bicycle playing cards. Usually consists again of 78 cards. The cards typically talk a little bit about astrology. There's astrology, there is numerology, elements, and things like that. One thing that I have noticed, again, in just sort of my years of working with the medium, is that you'd be hard pressed to find something that expresses a certain positive nature from the Black experience. And so, again, I'm one of those types of people. If I don't see something that I like, being a creative person, I tend to I tend to make those things for myself. This particular YouTube channel is a testament to that. I started it in 2013 because I wasn't seeing the artwork that I like. So here we are. Now, last week we left off working on the swords. We're again working on the Two of Swords. And swords deal a lot with the mental realm, right? So again, tarot deals with a lot of things: numerology, your astrology, the different planes of existence, the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and so on and so forth, intuition, subconscious. All of that is packed into this 78 card plan deck. And swords is the suit of the mind, right? So this week we are again working on the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords specifically deals with making decisions. So the concept of this particular card was that our main character has come to this fork in the road where both pathways are identical, right? So he has a decision to make, and we don't know which is going to be best for him. And I would argue that either decision, either path that he takes is going to lead him to wherever it is that he would like to be. So there are no wrong answers. There are no wrong paths to choose. Now, I chose this particular design because the original source material, which is supposed to mean decisions, to me does not read as decisions. And I'll show you guys that here in a bit. It may take me a minute to pull it up. But it's basically a lady who sits on a bench near water at night, and she's holding two swords. Now, if I'm creating something for the new reader, right, this is someone who may not be familiar with tarot, who may not have studied it, you're just picking up your first deck. For my opinion and from my experience, seeing that card does not necessarily read as decisions, right? So I wanted to make a deliberate choice to illustrate that, so that as soon as you pull this card, as soon as you've asked this question and you've drawn this card and you're reading, you are automatically hit with, okay, well, he's at a fork in the road. The swords are pointing in two different directions. Obviously, he has to make a choice. So that is the whole concept, and I'll show you here in just a sec what that original picture looks like and where we are going with this particular image. Now, we've spent some time working on the background in this picture because that's going to be the focal point. So this is our original source material. This is a card designed by Pamela Coleman Smith under the direction of A.E. Waite. And hey, Lee, I'm so glad to see you. Thank you so much for joining. So yeah, this is our original Two of Swords, and this is where we are in our new card design, right? All right, so we spent the last few weeks working on this background. Again, this is going to be our focal point. And artistically, when we want the eye to go to a specific focal point, we will articulate that focal point or render it with much more detail than you would your foreground, right? So spend a lot of time there, because once we move into our foreground trees, our background, even our figure, he won't get as many details as our background gets, because that's where we want to lead our eye, right? All right. Now, the beautiful thing about digital artwork is that though I have painted this, I have two swords to do, right? I have the top sword and the bottom sword. I've been working primarily on the bottom sword. And because this is digital, I don't have to repaint the second sword, which saves me a ton of time. And having worked on this for the last 5 years, I can certainly use as much save time as I can get. So we got a little bit of atmosphere here. We got some twinkles. We got the fireflies going. What I'm going to do right now, I think, is I am going to find my rim light layer over my layers panel. So if you're looking in the live screen panel, it's going to be right above me. And I am going to make a layer above that, and I'm going to strengthen these rim lights just a little bit, make them a little bit stronger, and then I'm going to add that glow down to the bushes. So today my goal is just to sort of wrap this up with the sword, wrap up the main part of the background, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. So here we go. So today has been on my mind. I've had a week. First of all, I hope you guys have had a great week. I have had an awesome week. I have had lots of I don't know, lots of fun times. I've done a lot this week. I have gotten a lot of clarity this week, which is always wonderful, especially if you are, healing and sort of making shifts and changes in your life. It's really nice to have clarity on certain things that you may not have had, clarity on before, because you'll be surprised at how much we hold on to things and you don't realize that you're holding on to stuff until it comes up. So I'm really, really thankful for the opportunity to, just sort of sort through some of that stuff in my mind, and sort through some of those experiences, things like that. So, you can let it go, right? We can grow, we can be better. But one of the things that I have noticed a lot, just sort of me perusing social media and, having conversations with some of you, is the conversation about confidence, right? So I've seen a lot of people, artists, I've seen a lot of, younger teenagers and things like that struggle with being confident. Now, I am 38 years old, turned 38 July 21st of this year. And confidence is something that I have only in recent years, in different degrees, fully stepped into. Hey, Anaya, I'm so glad to see you guys here. I hope you all are doing great. Hope you all are enjoying your day. So confidence is one of those things that even at 38, right, I have, I still work on constantly. It's a thing, right? I remember 2 years ago, I was in this class with Kimmy Creations. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she does these like cooking videos and things like that. And so she had a course where she, pretty much kind of gave some social media tips and things like that. And I remember asking her, like, what's going on with the confidence, right? How do you get the confidence to be on camera? How do you get the confidence to be like yourself, without worried about whatever the fear is? And she pretty much was like, you just got to figure out what's keeping you from being confident, right? And I think it's simple. It's like, well, duh, right? But it makes a lot of sense. You have to kind of break down what are you afraid of? What do you think is going to happen? what is in your mind the worst case scenario if you put yourself out there, and then flip it, what's the best case scenario, right? Because oftentimes in life we deal with a lot of worst case scenarios, right? It's common, it's what we're used to, is what we kind of grow up with, is what we see all the time, people being judged, people being scrutinized and different things like that. And so we often lean towards our worst case scenario, but sometimes you have to ask yourself, what is the first of all, what am I afraid of? And then after that, what's the best that can come out of this situation, right? What's the best thing that can happen? And one of the things that I've come to realize is that everybody has an insecurity. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how long you've lived. I don't care what kind of experiences and things like that you've gone through. Everybody has something that sort of, some kind of fear, some kind of something that they've had to deal with, overcome, that they may still be dealing with. And with that, because everybody is scared, there's really no reason for you not to be comfortable being yourself, right? There's no need to be uncomfortable, not being, you got not knowing the answers, right? Not having all of the answers, not really knowing what direction to go into, all of those things, because that's something that we all have to deal with. Now, at 38, I can tell you that nobody knows what they're doing. I don't care. I do not care how old they are. I don't care, how wise they seem. We're all trying to figure it out, right? So if we're all trying to figure out, everybody's got things that they're afraid of. Everybody's nervous about something. Everybody's, have their insecurities and things like that they've either worked through or are currently working through. And still, you still have people with those things in mind that are still thriving and doing well. So you have to do the same, right? You have to kind of you got to find your stride. You have to be comfortable with making mistakes and just live your life. Don't allow the fear of being scrutinized. Don't allow the fear of being seen, which was one of the things that I struggled with because I'm super duper, super duper private. But that fear of being seen kind of kept me from achieving different goals and things like that. So I have a couple videos for you guys who may be interested on this particular channel that deal with thriving and being confident and being yourself and being your favorite person, that I think you guys might like. So one of those is called Do That Shit Scared, which is all about mastering procrastination. It's sort of navigating fear and how you kind of get past those things for yourself. And the other one is a video about imposter syndrome. And I read something recently where it says that anytime I feel like I have imposter syndrome, I remember that real imposters don't. Right? So a real imposter isn't concerned with whether or not you believe them because they believe in them, right? So you have to believe in yourself. You actually have to get to a point where you have like Kanye type, I don't want to say arrogance, but like, Kanye belief in yourself. You believe in yourself so much so that nobody can tell you that you're not it, right? Nobody should be able to have that power over you. And so that was something that I had to learn, and something that I see a lot happen, specifically in art, right? Because I spend a lot of time in the art world. But I think there's something that's relevant to a lot of people. We grow up with the expectations that we have to be a certain way. We have to act a certain way. We have to follow a certain path. We have to, do a certain thing. We're comparing ourselves to people who we feel like are more successful or, have a life that we wish we had. But everybody has their own path. And nobody knows exactly what they doing. Nobody knows, right? So you just have to be comfortable not knowing. You have to be comfortable continuing to grow, and you just have to become your own favorite person, right? I went through a stage with my artwork, right? I've been an artist my entire life. Drawing is something I've always done. Always done. When I was 16, I had my very first African-American art teacher, Miss Owens. And Miss Owens kind of showed me that there was a possibility that I could become successful in the realm of art because she was also an artist, right? So it was the first time I'd actually known someone who looked like me, who was an artist. I didn't even consider myself an artist. It was just something that I did. I would draw on like all my notebook paper and I would get cussed out in the process. because why are you drawing on all the notebook paper? But that's what I did, right? It was something that I found solace in, and it was something that I did so much so that I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think nothing of it. And I had Miss Owens, and Miss Owens pretty much showed me that, there are possibilities beyond what we see, what we know, what we hear in our immediate surroundings. And so I became an artist. Now, I did study graphic design because even though she was encouraging me to be an artist, I think the mindset was that to be an artist and to thrive as an artist, you kind of have to go into graphic design. So that's how I got into graphic design. But illustration and fine art was something that I always enjoyed. It was something that I always did. Um, and when I was in college, even though I was, required to take, graphic design classes as a part of my major, I was always taking like painting classes and drawing classes and photography and printmaking and things like that because that was what I was actually interested in, right? And and I felt like if I'm learning, the way I looked at it is I was getting student loans for my education, right? So if I got to go into debt to be educated, I might as well take the classes that I'm interested in. It just didn't make sense any other way. If I got to pay for it, I might as well do what I want to do, right? So that's exactly what I did. I uh took classes in things that I was interested in, and she encouraged me, again, to study graphic design. And so it's been a bit of a journey, but I've always come back to drawing. Now, when I was in school, because I went to a school where I was often the only Black girl in my class, I was, went through a lot of critiques, which comes with art school. And with that, because I was the only Black girl in my class, and I also looked extremely young at the time, looked extremely young, I was often sort of made to feel less than because I was different. I looked different. I act different. My interests were different than the people that I was in class with. And that put a damper on my confidence, right? Because here I was, someone who had drawn my entire life. All I knew was artwork. All I wanted to do was draw. That's all ever wanted to do, right? After I decided not to be a lawyer because that was something that I wanted to do. But once I became like, okay, this is the thing, that was what I wanted to do. And sort of in the process of that, going through, art school and things like that, it put a damper on my confidence. And I didn't know that it wasn't me, right? It wasn't me. Sometimes you are in environments that don't necessarily nurture the best in you. But what I learned and what I took from that is that everybody's not going to get it, right? Everybody's not going to get it. Everybody's not meant to see the vision. Everybody's not meant to walk the walk with you. But you have to see it and you have to be okay with it. And you literally have to be your own favorite person. Like I am my own, I have favorite people. I'm my favorite. Number one, I am my own favorite person, right? When it comes to my artwork and things like that, I am my favorite artist. I don't say that to be arrogant or anything like that. I say that because I am, right? I make the artwork that I want to see. I create the things that I want to see. I, am doing this from a very transparent space. I'm my own favorite artist. And so when it comes time for me to talk about my artwork, because I love so much about what I do, I love so much about, expressing it and sharing it with you guys, it comes off and it feels very confident. I can sit here and we talk for an hour every Sunday and we talk about what I'm doing on the screen. And I can do that because this is what I love to do, right? So when you're developing your confidence, you kind of have to get to that space. Like it doesn't really matter if the girl down the street doesn't like what you're doing. It's none of her business. It's truly none of her business. And she has her own path that she has to take. Your parents have their own path that they have to take, right? So I know a lot of times, especially when we're young, we have to, again, we're tailoring ourselves, we're tailoring our experiences based on the expectations of those around us. But you have to slow down sometimes. You have to get to know yourself sometimes. And you have to be okay to make mistakes. And that's how you gain your confidence. Everybody's working through something. I can assure you. So as an artist, that's sort of where I stand. It took me a very long time. Again, I'm 38. It took me up until recent years to sort of, and it was a slow burn. It was, it was something that I had worked on and developed over the years. But it's something that I see a lot of. I see a lot of people who are, especially in the art realm, because I spend so much time there, right? Spend so much time speaking with other artists and helping other artists and sort of listening to the stories of other artists because that's what I enjoy, right? So I see a lot of artists, young artists specifically, who are getting into this field. They don't really feel comfortable showing their faces. Been there. Definitely been there, right? They don't feel comfortable showing their artwork. They're afraid of, again, worst case scenario. But sometimes you just have to do the thing that you're afraid of doing in order for you to get past it. Because in this case, I think I started this live stream series June 30th of this year. Prior to that, I was procrastinating like nobody's business. I had the idea to go live. I was like, listen, I got to work on these cards. I think it would be fun to show the people who have been following the process of me creating these cards, what it is that I'm actually doing and talking about, the process, my thoughts and planning and all of those things. It'll be really fun to, do this live. It'll hold me accountable the whole nine. But for a solid month, I was afraid to do the thing. I was afraid to do it. I wasn't confident. I was like, man, people are going to see me. They're not going to, be able to relate. They're not going to be able to, enjoy it. They may not like it as much, whatever. And I was too concerned about what other people would think and not so much concerned about my why. That's something else that you have to get into, right? You have to figure out why you're doing a thing. Because some people get on social media and their why is that they want to go viral and they want to make a lot of money. And that's fair. That's fair. That's your business too. That's fair, right? For me, it's more about raising awareness of this project that I've been working so long and so hard on. So it's more important for me to be able to showcase the process to people who I can genuinely connect with, right? Who genuinely enjoy this particular product, who enjoy this particular project. And that's sort of what's important. And so once I reminded myself of that, and I did the actual first live stream. After that, I was like, oh, this is easy. I can do this. I can sit here and talk and chit chat for an hour and answer you guys' questions and read the chat and say hey and all of that. I could do that. And so same for you. If there's something that you want to do, I don't, and this isn't even limited to your age, right? Again, I'm 38. There are people who are watching this who are around my age. There are people who are watching this who are much younger. There are people who are watching this that are much older, right? This is message for all of you. If there's something that you genuinely would like to do, right? There's something that you maybe have been dreaming of and you're feeling like it's too late for me. It's not too late for you, right? It's never too late. I was actually just considering continuing my education in a slightly adjacent field to graphic design. And I'm 38, right? Most people, or the thought process is that at 38, you should have it figured out. Nobody has it figured out. So you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay. It's going to be all right. And what I find is that we hear the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. One of the things that I'm truly, truly grateful for is that you guys are some of the most supportive people that I've ever known. I constantly today got a really sweet message about, enjoying watching the journey of me creating. Like I get sweet messages from you guys all the time, and that's motivating. So I think because I put out a vibe of, love and grace and kindness, you get that back in return. I don't really get hate comments or anything like that. And even if I did, my block game is strong. I promise. Listen, it doesn't have I don't, I don't argue. I don't want to argue. I will block you so fast. It wouldn't even be funny. So before we get too far into me running my mouth, what I've done, and I'll show you guys, let me zoom out a little bit. What I'm looking for in my references is my lantern, because we're getting ready to start on our figure. But what I've done up to this point is I actually finished off our lower sword. And again, with digital art is nice because it's easy for me to duplicate things. So I was able to take that lower sword, copy it, paste it, flip it around, adjust it, do what I needed to do. And then what I could do is add additional rim light to it so that it too is sort of sitting on the tree. Now, looking at this now, because I'm zooming out of it, I can and probably will place a shadow behind it so that it actually looks mounted to the tree. But that's all we've done today. We've, pretty much wrapped this sword up. We added the additional sword, and then I did add some rim lighting, which will give it a bit of a glowing effect to the bushes. So I was looking for my lantern reference, and so I'll probably pull that up off to the side. But until then, what I'm going to do is paint the shadow under our topmost sword so that it actually looks mounted to the tree and not just kind of stuck there. And some of these nuances and things like that you won't even see because this is going to be a card. And I wish I had my cards with me, but this is going to be about an 80 millimeter by I think 127 is the size that I decided on. So it's going to be a pretty small card. So I don't want to go too hard and too, intense on the details because a lot of this you're not going to see anyway. But we do for the sake of maybe perhaps one day blowing this thing up, making it into journals or, for the sake of having a polished end result, we definitely going to give it the best, right? So what I'm going to do here is find my rim light and I'm going to find my sword duplicate, which I believe is this one. Yep. And so up under this, I'm going to add a shadow. Now, before I do, what I'm finding is, let me turn this off. There we go. All right. So underneath this, I'm going to add a shadow and then we'll get back into working on the rest of the picture, right? So confidence. Yeah. So I hope that you guys, and it takes time finding your confidence, finding your stride. I hope that it doesn't, just have fun with life. I think a lot of times a lack of confidence for one comes from fear, right? We're afraid of being judged or whatever the fear is, right? If you're feeling like you're not confident or maybe you're feeling insecure about something, you kind of have to get to the bottom of that insecurity and the bottom of that fear. For me, it was, and I talk about this in a procrastination video. So if you have a chance, please check that out. It's really good. And I ain't saying it just because it's me. It's just a pretty good watch, right? But in that, I talked a little bit about working on a series that teaches people how to hire graphic designers and illustrators. The reason that I started the series, my why, was because I had two very distinct clients last year that gave me the absolute blues. They were so stressful. It was such a stressful time, right? But from that, it dawned on me that for the audience, the type of client that I was working with at that time, many of them were coming off of websites like Fiverr and Upwork, which has a certain culture. The prices are like ridiculously low. And it's just, if your Fiverr and Upwork is your thing, this is no shame or anything like that. But the reality of it is the prices of it is extremely low. Artists and creators tend to give up their rights a lot faster over there because it's a work for hire, right? Every situation doesn't meet work for hire standards. So when I was having these two specific clients, and it's been others, right? But these two sort of sparked this conversation within me. Once I sort of went through those experiences, it dawned on me that people aren't necessarily prepared to come off of those particular sites and hire an actual professional, right? So there's a certain culture at Upwork and Fiverr, but there's a completely different culture when it comes to actually actively hiring a professional creative. And so the idea came, I was like, okay, listen, these people have really ran me up the road. And I'm noticing sort of a pattern, just sort of paying attention to, social media, things like that. And what I'm finding is that people don't know how to have these sorts of conversations. So I decided that, okay, I want to be able to prepare future clients, right? So that if I'm having a prospective client and I'm having this sort of, consultation with them, which I typically do, right? Then I can send them to these videos to say, hey, here are some things to look out for. This is what it is, A, B, C, and D. This is what you look for when you hire a graphic designer illustrator. I wanted to do this. The thing was, I was afraid to do it because I was like, who am I? You go through these things, right? Who am I to tell people how they should hire a graphic designer illustrator? You remind yourself that I've been a professional designer illustrator for 15 plus years. I'm the perfect person to tell you how exactly you should go about this particular thing. And so I had to kind of get over that fear. And so that's how it showed up. But the insecurity was, okay, I have an accent. So I've been told I have an accent. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna look on camera. I don't know how I'm gonna sound. I'm hoping I can like articulate myself. I'm hoping that I can get the point across in a, empathetic and compassionate way, but also like, don't do this when you hire a graphic designer, illustrator. I was going through all this whole list of things that I was worrying about, these whole list of scenarios that I was creating in my head. That were none of which were like true or none of which had any sort of merit over my actual value, my actual skill, and the message that I had to give. And so I had to actually work through that in order to say, okay, let me go ahead and do it. Now I did the videos, and I have more videos on that topic, right? I did the first few videos. They went well. Of course, each one gets better, just like these live streams. Each live stream gets better. You learn and you grow. You learn to articulate yourself better. You learn to express yourself better. I was, at the time, the way that I do my long format videos is, in order for me to stay on track, I write a script, right? So I'm like going through the script, making sure I'm saying it the way that I want to say it, making sure that I'm expressing the point that I want to give. And so each one got better, right? But the lack of confidence came from just being afraid. And most of it was being afraid of being afraid of being seen and not liked, and all of that, the whole 9 yards. The way that I got over it was just to do the thing that I was scared to do. I did it, and then I posted it, and then I did another one, and I posted that. And then here we are doing this live, right? So it does take steps. You're not alone if you are, feeling a little bit afraid, feeling like I'm not as, or you're not as confident as the next person. The other part of that is that you cannot compare yourself to the next person, right? Again, we don't know what people go through. We don't know what their stories are. We don't know what led them to the path that they are. So if you're seeing somebody, especially if you spend a lot of time on social media, right? What we're seeing is a lot of people's representatives. And so we're not getting the full picture. We're not getting the full story. We don't know, we don't know, right? We don't only get a snippet of a moment, right? So you cannot compare your struggles, right? You cannot compare your successes. You cannot compare your life. You cannot compare your experiences to the next person, because everybody has a story that they have to tell. Now, what I just did was off screen on my second monitor is I pulled in my lantern. And I think what we're going to do is go ahead and paint this in. And so, again, this is a nighttime scene. So I've turned my sketch back on just so I can kind of see where the lantern is. I think we're pretty much done with the forest part of the background. I still have to paint in the ground. We still have to do the foreground trees, and we still have to do like the ground beneath our character, and we still have to articulate the character. So it seems like a lot to do, but I don't really think there's going to be a lot, even if we don't complete all of this on our live stream. So right now, what we're going to do is work on the lantern, and as you guys can see, it's not really a lot. I don't have a lot because his arm is obstructing the view of the whole thing. So what we'll do is go ahead and just paint in what we can see, right? But yeah, everybody's trying to figure something out. I can assure you. So the more open you are to being okay with, everybody trying to figure it out, and you still trying to figure out, no matter what age, whether that's a big age or a small age, as long as you are okay with that, as long as you've made peace with that, everything's gonna be all right. I promise. Everything's going to be okay. We cannot compare ourselves. We cannot compare our lives. We cannot compare our careers, our journeys, any of that to the next person. Very good, great case in point. I started this channel 2013. And there was another YouTuber that I was, real good friends with. Now she's like huge, where I lost touch with her. But I started this channel in 2013, and we're at, I don't think we've gotten to 1,000 yet, right? Part of that is because I was hella inconsistent, because burnout is a thing, right? But the other part of that is that it just wasn't my stride, and I spelled that wrong. It wasn't it wasn't something that was meant to happen, right? It's not how it was supposed to go for me. So I can't say, oh man, I can't believe that I'm not as big as the girl that I started with and all of this stuff. Like, for one, who got time? I don't have time for that, and you shouldn't either. You shouldn't have time to compare yourself to the next person, right? Again, we don't know what people go through. We don't know how much work, in the stars may have just been aligned for her to succeed, or for the next person to succeed, or whomever you feel like you're comparing yourself to. If it's meant for you, it's meant for you, right? If it's not meant for you, and it's not meant for you, and it's all right. It's all right. We just pivot a little bit. So, but what I will say is that once you sort of figure out your whys, right? Why you're doing the thing, why you want to do a thing that kind of helps you be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing, getting over the fear is literally just a matter of you doing the thing you're afraid to do. So if you want to do a solo trip, for instance, um, do a solo trip, right? If you want to, make a podcast, make the podcast. Even if it's just you and your family listening to it, right? Even if it's just y'all, do the thing. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter because those sorts of things will live on forever. That's something that you can pass down to your kids. That's a legacy that you create for yourself. And you're doing it, hopefully, because it's something that you actually want to do, something that you enjoy doing, right? If you want to become an artist. you know, if you want to start a clothing line, start the clothing line. The only people that are holding you back is you. Literally you. It's just you. Whether that means that you're holding yourself back because you don't want to be judged, because you think people are going to say things or do things, or whatever it is you think is going to happen, it's still you making making the decision not to do it, right? So it all kind of falls back on you. So if there's a thing you want to do, man, just do it. I wanted to do the tarot deck. I just did it. I was like, and I talk a lot about this. I didn't have a plan. I did not have a concept. It was something that was on my mind to do. And because the way things were playing out, it was pretty much like you put a desire into the universe, and the universe was conspiring to make that thing happen. Literally, because the time that I spent avoiding this particular task, the time that I spent second guessing myself with it, the time that I spent sort of trying to get all of my ducks in a row and make sure everything's on the up and up and everything like that, none of that was working out. It didn't start to work out until I did the thing that I said I wanted to do. And that's too how you know when something is right for you, right? When it's easy. It's not supposed to be difficult. It's if it's I like the saying from Abraham Hicks, who says, if it's not a hell yeah, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no. And so whenever you have things that work out the way that they're supposed to work out, that's how you know it's meant to be, right? But you actually have to take that leap first. You have to believe in yourself enough to try it. And if it fails, at least you tried. It's nothing worse than trying or not trying. It's nothing worse than not trying something, and then years go by and you got all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I wish I had. Man, if I had done this, that, and the third. But ultimately, things work out the way that they're supposed to. And when you're not following what you're supposed to be doing, life, I have a way to let you know. Life will definitely spank your butt a little bit. So if there's something that you want to do, let's get it done. I feel like now we're at the tail end of 2024. Don't wait till 2025, right? I know a lot of times we tend to get into like the resolutions and things like that. I'm going to wait till the perfect time. Don't wait. Get it started now, right? Go ahead and get it done now. At least start the process, figure out what it is that you need to know in order to succeed in whatever this thing is that you want to do, and then just go for it. There, we're done with the lantern. That was pretty easy. And what I'm going to do is turn off my sketch, because sometimes the sketch can, since my sketch is sitting over my image, it can kind of give a little bit of a false read where things can appear to be in line and things like that. So I'm going to turn it off to see what I need to tighten up. And I need to tighten up quite a bit. Not too much though. I didn't do too bad. Not too much. But yeah, that's what it takes. Sometimes you just have to be okay with making mistakes. You have to be okay with the fact that you may not always have the answer. You have to be okay with the fact that there's going to take a little bit of work, right? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But you have to be okay in that. Sometimes lessons are built into these experiences, and you have to be okay to walk through those lessons. You have to ride the wave, right? And again, everything's not going to be difficult, and everything's not going to be for you either. So you can have something in mind, and you can say, okay, well, I had this thing and it didn't work out, and I can't figure out why it didn't work out. And you're trying to force this square peg into a round hole, but things work out the way that they're supposed to work out, right? When it's for you, I promise you things are like aligned. You get the interactions that you're supposed to have. You get the helpers that you're supposed to have. You get the clarity that you're supposed to have. But you have to actually take that first step, right? All right, so we're back on our lantern. I'm turning my sketch back on. And what I'm going to do is articulate the top of this a little bit better so that we have sort of a different, and again, this is going to be really small, so I don't have to do a whole lot to this, but we're just going to just give the idea of a difference. And what I'm going to do actually, because I'm looking at it, and I don't, for you guys, it may not be super zoomed in, but my face is right in the screen. So what I'm going to do is zoom out a little bit so that we can get a better idea of what that looks like. And so it's glowing orange, just like our reference. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a orange rim light around my character. So once I get to the point where I'm ready to sort of, draw him in and give him some details and things like that, just like with our glow with our swords that shows up in our bushes, you're going to have a similar effect on the character. Now, one thing about artwork and creating a light source is that you have to keep in mind where that light source is going to hit, right? So this is our lantern or reference over to the side. But what I do have is a reference of a group of people walking through a dark forest and they're holding torches, right? So I'm going to use that as a guide to tell me how far this lantern's light should go. Now, one of the things that I have to keep in mind when I look at this reference is that there are multiple lanterns in this particular picture. So it may not glow quite the same in my image, but it'll kind of give me an idea of where to place the light. Now, this one is a great example here. So this lantern, okay, let me blow this up. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm looking for anyway when I'm looking at a reference. So we have a lantern here, right? This is our square lantern. And we can see that it's casting light down on this bush. But we can also see that it's not casting light in our background, right? So the light of this lantern does not travel very far, which is going to be helpful because we don't want it to compete with our background, which is our focal point, right? So going back to our original, this one is our light source reference. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see it. And so in this light source reference, this particular picture is telling me a few things. One, that they are carrying similar colored torches and that the torches are lighting the body. So it's like creating a light around the silhouette of the body. So we have the light here, but we also have where it lights the ground. Now, it's a little bit different because there are multiple torches in this image. So the ground is getting quite a bit of light, right? In our picture, in our two of swords, he's only carrying one light. It may not travel very far. So depending on where I cast this light, that'll kind of give dimension to whatever is near, right? So what I mean by that. So he has and I'm not painting this in, I'm going to paint this in just for demonstration purposes, and then we'll tighten it up a little bit later. So I'm going to lay in this lighting example so I can show you guys and I can come back and and throw it away later. But we have two trees in our foreground and we want to create distance in this picture. So we have our very light background that kind of pushes it back. We have our slightly darker bush that kind of comes forward a little bit. We have our very dark tree. We have our focal point, which is our two swords, and then we have a bush. So the way that this image is designed is so that we're designing it so that you can actually focus on the two swords, because this is not going to read two swords at the bottom like our major arcana cards do, or like the page of pentacles, not the page of pentacles, the page of swords here. I don't know if I'm gonna see if it's on here, but usually in tarot cards you have the title of the card at the bottom. With all of my minor arcana cards, that's the ace through actually the 2 through 10 cards. They're just going to have numbers, right? So I do want our focal point to be on the sword so that you see that this is clearly two swords. Now, when we are setting up the lighting for this picture, which I'm going to demonstrate here, and then I'll tighten it up because I do want this to show a little bit different. What I will do is I am going to add a little bit of this very subtle brown, and I might take it up a little bit, right? Now I'm going to add a little bit of this subtly to our, maybe not, are we? Maybe. Move it up. There we go. We'll add it subtly to, and it may not even go that far up, right? Because he's down below and this is kind of sitting on the hill. So it would light something like this. We're going to show up. Uh-oh. right? So something along these lines, because the lighting is going to hit from our lantern, right? Now, what that does is that makes this area look closer to our it looks a little bit closer to our figure, right? If I wanted to push this back, I would not like this at all. I would allow this to be sort of the background color, and it'll just be green or whatever color I decide to do. But according to our reference here, the things that are sort of in the way of the light are getting lit a little bit. So that's kind of how I'm looking at my references. So when we get into painting our trees and things like that, and I might start some of that here in a bit, but when we get to that sort of part of the illustration, then I have to kind of keep in mind how far I want my bounce light to hit. Now, I do like how our background looks like it's in a bit of a clearing, because he's coming out of the forest, and then there's a fork in the road, and then he has these two swords, which is in a little bit of a clearing. So I like that. I do not want my foreground to compete with my background, right? So I've seen artwork. My husband has a painting in the garage right now from an artist whose background competes with the foreground, so that the images show up in a way that you cannot tell that this is behind the character. So if I'm the character and I have this chair behind me, you can't tell it because there's no differentiation between the values, right? So that's something you have to kind of pay attention to as you're working as an artist. All right. So that's one little bit of an art lesson to do. Now I know in our this week, if you guys are in the newsletter list, of course I've been on vacation, so everything that went out was pre-scheduled and everything like that. But I did send out a survey to everyone in my newsletter list to kind of let me know which direction you guys would like to see this channel go. And I got pretty good response. First of all, thank you so much for everyone who responded to that. I appreciate it, and it was truly valuable. What I've gotten is that you guys want to learn more about the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, which will definitely take place every Sunday. We'll definitely have our live streams that's going to continue. And then I got some feedback about wanting to see more beginner-friendly tutorials, which is right on time. Because if you've been here for a while with me, or if this is your first live stream with me, there are a couple of videos that I did. One was an interview with another deck creator. Her name was IJ Richardson. I highly recommend checking it out. I think that was a beautiful, excellent talk. We were cutting up real good. I really had a good time. And the second interview that we did was, or not interview, but just sort of collaborative video that we did was with Lee, who's in our chat, and Sam. And we've been kind of talking a little bit about expanding on that. So that'll be by way of, teaching how to use digital art software, how to sort of just navigate that realm. For whatever reason, people believe that digital art and traditional art are drastically different things, and that in order for you to create digital art, it's like a cheat code or something. I don't know. We've been drawing on this picture for the last 3-4 weeks. So obviously there is no cheat code, right? You're actually actively drawing when you're creating digital artwork. So I would like very much to lean into that. That might be my pocket. I don't know. You guys will still have to let me know. Of course, like I said, the survey went out to those on my email list. But I do invite you, if you're watching this live or the replay, to let me know if there's something that you would be interested in. Do you guys want to see more art tutorials and things like that? Specifically around, I was going to say graphic design, but not around graphic design, but specifically around illustration. If that's something that you'd be interested in, if you know someone who would benefit from that, let me know. You can leave a comment, you can tell me in the chat, or you can DM me on Instagram. Facebook, again, I don't really, I post to Facebook, but I'm not really on Facebook like that. So if you want to really get a hold of me, just do it through Instagram. So yeah, if that's something that you'd like to see, please let me know. I'm thinking, like, we had such a good time. I had such a great time with Sam and Lee a couple weeks back that I was like, okay, for sure we need to do this again. And also, like, I'm really glad that I was able to help, because again, going back to my personal experience, I wouldn't be an artist if I didn't have Miss Owens, right? First Black teacher. And I've only had 2 in my entire professional career. I've only had 2 Black art instructors, and those 2 were so impactful because they understand sort of the nuances of what it is to be a Black American artist. There is a thing, right? They understand the experience. They understand what it is to be in college and to be, one of the few in your class. They understand the perspective, the ideas that you want to articulate. So, because I had that in my art career, in my artistic development, I would love to be that for whoever needs it, right? And not just because I'm black, that's part of it, but also because I do feel like I could be helpful, be of help. So yeah, we're making our way through this. I'm looking at it now, and I'm just sort of taking survey of what else needs to be done. So I got my lantern. I know my figure needs to be done. I'll probably do that off of live. I don't think I'm going to do that on live. It's probably something that I'll continue to work on once we end here. But I want to see like what can I get done while we're here. So yeah, I hope you guys get something from these live streams. I thoroughly enjoy it. I look forward to this every week. I swear to goodness, like when I do long form videos, again, like for me, it's a whole production, right? So I like to like gather my thoughts, make sure that I'm not rambling when I'm like creating my scripts and topic points and things like that. I don't want to ramble. I want to make sure that we're on topic, but I'll have to set aside time to set up the camera, set up the light, edit it, go through the whole thing. But when I get to be here on live with you guys, and this is whether you're watching this live or the replay, I really enjoy sort of the freeform nature of it, right? You guys get to see what I actually do for a living, which is neat, I think. I always enjoy watching other people create and sort of learning what other people do and hearing other people's perspectives. For one, I feel like you can always sort of learn something from the process, especially if you're an artist. And this is specific to my art friends out there. I think one of the most valuable things that I have done as an artist is to sort of learn from other creators, right? So, for instance, I was on Instagram not long ago, and I was following the artist Yoshi Yoshitani, and I love Yoshi's work. I met her a few years ago at a convention, and I bought her tarot deck, which was originally named the Fairy Tarot, but I think it's the Tarot of the Divine or something like that. But anyway, she was creating these videos where she talked about how she chooses her color palettes. And I'm thinking, man, if I were like at the beginning of my journey, like this would be golden, because what she does is she goes and finds these color palettes and then she challenges herself to create within those color palettes. It helps with learning how to deal with color theory. Right? It doesn't give you the full color theory lesson doing this, but it does give you a little bit of a jumping off point. And so I thought that was really cool. It was actually something I was thinking about incorporating in this particular card. The reason I didn't was because, one, I couldn't find quite the color palette I was looking for, because I knew I wanted this to be a very blue scene. To go along with it being an air card. So I wanted this to be a very blue scene. And I also wanted it to, I don't know, I just wanted certain colors to be stronger. So I just gathered a list of references and things like that to pull colors from. But I thought that was a really good idea. It might be a fun challenge to do. Maybe that's something that we'll do on the live stream with Sam and Lee. Maybe we'll pick some color palettes and things like that. And we'll work from them, because I would really like to use that as an opportunity again to, just kind of share some of the things that I've learned being a digital artist for so many years. And I've started my digital art career, and I want to say somewhere between 2006 and 2008, somewhere up in there. I was in school by 2006. I had transferred schools and had moved to Memphis. So, that's sort of where that began. But at the same time, I was also like taking traditional art classes and things like that. So I was getting an education in graphic design, but I was also getting an education in, what it is to be a traditional artist. And for those of you who are curious, on this particular channel, there are buku videos of me painting with acrylics. As a matter of fact, I have a project that I have to do here soon, where I'll be painting an acrylic portrait for one of my good friends. And I have not painted in a long time, so that's gonna be that's gonna be interesting. I've sort of leaned into digital art just because it's a lot easier to clean up. I don't have to set aside time to pull out my canvas, not pull out my canvas, pull out my easels, pull out the paints and things like that. It's just easier to navigate and easier to deal with. So yeah, but I don't know if you guys would be interested in seeing that. Let me know. I don't know. I'm talking. I don't know. I was going to say I'll probably record it, but I may not. But if it's something that you'll be curious about seeing, just let me know. And we could do that. I think we could do that. But yeah, so we have a lot planned. I'm really hoping that that goes well. I'll probably give it the next couple of weeks to plan with Sam and Lee, and we'll be back on live again as we sort of learn and adjust to things like that. So I'm trying to work on my foreground a little bit, and the computer is auto saving, and it's been about 55 minutes, so about an hour. So I think we're gonna call it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, next week, I'll be showing you the completed card. I don't think I have a whole lot more to do on this card. I don't have as busy of a week this coming week, so I'll probably spend a lot more time working on this. So the goal is to have this done, and that we'll get into the Two of Wands. We'll see. I'm actually not even done sketching the Two of Wands, but we're gonna work it out. So I think we're gonna call it. I hope I didn't talk you guys' ears off too much. I hope you have a great day, right? I hope your week is pleasant. I hope last week was awesome for you. I hope that you guys continue to build relationships with each other. I hope that you continue to grow and to expand and to learn and all of those wonderful things. And I want to wish you all a happy, creative, and prosperous day. And we're going to cut it. I'll see you next week. Until next time, peace.